Hi guys, and welcome back to another Shaun the Buffalo video. Hope you've all been well. And today we are doing another run through of a Players Cup 3 events that are going on the PTCGO at the moment. And basically, this is a pretty generic Pikarom deck. I have tested various different things to zero avail, even simple things like a third Boltund and things, and a third Boltund is nice to be able to see it at the start of the match, but then in the late game it is just an additional thing in your deck that is just basically clogging it up. Any more than 12 basics in this deck is realistically too much. Now, we are only playing 2 Zenes, not 3 as well. I do not like 3 Zenes either. It does obviously help with your overall speed, but realistically you should never need more than 2 Zenes and a Crobat. Having 2 Zenes means as well that if you're not going to use the second one and you are able to Crobat, it means you're less susceptible to Break Catcher. So your opponent has to find the boss to take a knockout, which is especially handy against the ADP match. Talking of the ADP match, I had taken out the Team Yell Grunt for the longest time, which is just down here, and this obviously takes an energy away from your opponent, puts it back in the hand, which knocks back the Altered Creation for a turn. I've taken it out for the longest time because it didn't really help with many other decks, but then I just realised that the Pikarom needs the level of disruption with the Team Yelgrunt and the Crushing Hammers to be able to push through fast enough. The skill of this deck lies in knowing when to make that push, when to start attacking. It's not as simple as simply electrify, attach an energy to either your Mewtwo or your Pikarom next turn and full blitz. It's not always as simple as that, because if your opponent is going to get the immediate knockout on your Pikarom, then it's not entirely a good thing. It's not entirely something you want. So it's all about knowing when to make that push, basically. So the deck list is pretty generic, just a bunch of consistency cards in Quick Ball and Cherish Ball and Electromagnetic Radar, which allows us to grab either Dedenne, Pikarom, or the Raichu and Alolan Raichu GX. The Cherish Ball allows us to grab the Mewtwo as well as the other tag team GXs and Dedenne as well. And the Quick Ball allows us to grab everything, but most especially our Tapu Koko Prism Star, which, as you may or may not see in our matches, I happen to prize that card way too much, like way much more than many other people. It's almost like the PCGO platform just does not want me to qualify this time around. I qualified in Players Cup 2, but honestly, my RNG has been out of this world, like next level. So that is all for the deck list, and we will display one of these on screen just before we get into, sorry about the focus, if that's happening, there we go. So yeah, we'll display that and we will be right back with some gameplay. See you in a minute. As some of you may or may not have noticed, that on my channel I have finally hit my first milestone as a content creator and have finally acquired my first 100 subscribers. So today, with it being a little bit more of a celebration, we are going to hand out a few more of these codes. Now, this one is for, this one is for Vivid Voltage Elite Trainer box. So hopefully one of yous will get that. Wasting my opponent's time. And we have an okay-ish start, if I'm honest. This is where you don't go overly aggressive in the opening turn. I'm just going to discard this Marnie because we've always got things to get supported back. Well, I say things, I mean Eldegoss. And we are simply just going to attach and pass. No reason or no point in doing anything else. We have to switch into the Boltund for next turn. And having my opponent use a Giant Harpy is good. Us going second is not good, but not really much we can do about that. So we do see a switch, and will my opponent find the turn 1? I guess not. I guess we're just going to go for a donk then. So we'll go here, Chaotic Swell, and I'm pretty sure this just outputs 70, and it's already, yeah, it's already doing 30. It's already doing 40. So I am pretty certain this is just knockout. And it seems the bad RNG is going to my opponent for a change. So that's good to see. And I will present to my viewers yet another code. Another one for Vivid Voltage. So hopefully we can see that. And I'll be right back with the next game. So we are back with our second game of the Players' Cup. And it looks like it's going to be a quick one, this, unfortunately, as I am not only going first, but I've mulliganed twice. But open hand's not too bad. I just don't want to be having to discard the tag switch so early. So we are just going to grab ourselves a Bolt and Attach Energy and Pass. I think is the way to go. Yeah. So we see a quick ball from our opponents, and immediately we can see we're against either Temperzard, which does seem to be the case. I was going to say either Temperzard or Senscorch. So I would assume that my opponent is going to have a very, very quick turn 1, well, turn 2 for them, Double Blaze hit into my Pikarom, which would be very sad, unfortunately, but there's not really a lot we can do about that. Unless they're going to attempt to go Blacephalon here, which they do discard the Blacephalon, so we know that we're definitely against the Temperzard. And our opponent may have an awful hand, we will see. It's taken a long time to decide whether he wants the Reshiram Charizard down or not, because obviously if he does put it into play, I'm just not going to attach to the current active Pikarom if he attempts to make a dig on it. So it will be a 3 prizes sitting on the bench, but I mean my opponent doesn't have access to a what's the word? Doesn't have access to Tag Bolt, so not so much of an issue. We do see a Fire Crystal for 1. So he is obviously just going for the straight Double Blaze. And with any luck we may be able to hit these Crushing Hammers and go for an Electrify to the Pikarom that we have in our hand. And strangely enough, he is just going to hit 30 on it. So, I mean, I say strangely enough, I'm never going to be using this Pikarom ever again, I don't think. Can we hit one of these? No, we can't. So we will attach here. And this is kind of a perfect hand. In a sense, I don't know what my game's doing, it's just really going laggy all of a sudden. we can discard this and this. It's unfortunate we're losing the tag switch. We do still have an energy switch in deck. We are only going to grab one Denny as well. And use the Denny to grab ourselves a new hand. So that's number 1 of what we wanted. And the switch is number 2. So he is most definitely going to go for a Flare Strike on my Bolton this turn, which would be very sad. So we will Electrify onto Mewtwo. He could immediately have the energy and boss's orders in hand, which is also likely, considering my opponents always seem to have this random crazy good hands when I'm playing these. Been playing in these Players Cup 3 tournaments. That's why I'm having to rock the rum and coke, de-stress myself from the whole situation of the fact that I get RNG like this. So we see a Cramorant getting flipped back into the deck for a Mewtwo. Does he play a Rangaroo as well, perchance? So he does play a Rangaroo, it would seem, if he's grabbing it now. I'm loving to see the Giant Half discarded, unless... Well, I was going to say unless he plays Marshadow. I would expect this deck to play a Marshadow. We see an Oricorio, which is good for us because it is Tag Bolt worthy. It is also... I was going to say it's weak to Lightning, but it's actually not, so... And we see the discard of the Zigzagoon, which is helpful for us as well, because it means he can't ping this. So unless he plays Nordain Rod or a second Zigzagoon perchance. I'm glad to see that out of there. With any luck, he may not have drew an energy here, or a way to get the Marshadow. Because he may have a Giant Half in hand, but no way to get Marshadow, or he may have entirely no energy. But we do see the energy, so we will see a... And we see the boss swords as well, of course. Like every time without fail. But that's not too much of an issue. Because we are just going to go for the Tandem Shock on this, and then that resets Tam was a perfect top deck, it's got to be said. So, go this, go to Dene. All we need is a switch or an air balloon. We found the air balloon, so that's good. And we're not even going to bother using a supporter. We will just use Tandem Shock. And then we will full blitz next turn. It's not all about the full blitzing straight away either, which if I'd not made that clear at the start of the video, this is where I said the skill that you need to play this deck lies in. Well, if he gets switch scoop up now here, this is going to be awful. But I think he may have whiffed it, judging by how long he's taken to do anything with his hands. He's going to use Dedenne certainly to dig for it. So, does my opponent find switch scoop up net or double switch? He's most likely to have the switch. And he doesn't even find the switch, it would seem. Unless my opponent's just slow rolling me just for the sake of BMing me. Which, if you're one of these players that does that, I've got to say now, it basically falls onto the rule of bad sportsmanship. I'd very recommend that you just don't do it at all, because it does suck to be on that end of things. So my opponent's only going to have one bench space to work with here. He's already lost one Blacephalon. And we have the boss in hand for next turn as well. And I don't know if our Crobat is prized. We are only down one boss as well. So this is where we full blitz. Do we have an energy in the discard yet? We do. So I'm not sure if my opponent themselves plays Reset Stamp, but we are definitely getting this here now while we can. Because if my opponent manages to knock out this Mewtwo anyway, then he automatically wins the game. Whereas if he doesn't, then I have game next turn. So, talking of which, I don't want the Crushing Hammers in my deck anymore either. And we are just going to... where is it? Full Blitz. And we have the exact amount of energy that we need. So my opponent here has to have Blacephalon, Welder, 2 energy and a 3rd energy, and then a grand total of 6 energy to knock this out. So my opponent needs Blacephalon, Welder, 9 energy, and a way to retreat this as well. I'm not wholly certain that that's possible. And the only way we could, well, he'd need 3 big charms and a Cave of Toughness to win, which isn't possible. He definitely needs to reset stamp me, and if he doesn't, then I haven't checked to see if the Coco's in deck, but with any luck it will be. So there's the Blacephalon. We do see a Welder for 2, most likely. Yep. So we need a 3rd energy and 2 Fire Crystals. And a way to lift this up as well. I imagine if you scoop up nets this, then that's what's going to happen. So we see the scoop up net. And how many Fire Crystals does my opponent have? Maybe he's bluffing me into conceding. Again, if he is one of these people that is just like slow playing and you know this person, I'd just say to tell him not to do that, because it's just unholy bad sportsmanship. Does he play a 3rd Adene, is what I'm assuming this quick ball is about. And if he does, and he's got a Fire Crystal in hand, that's going to be very unfortunate. So he's going to Crobat for 2, so we might have a Fire Crystal in hand, and I imagine he's got Scoop Up Net as well. So let's see if he finds another Scoop Up Net. Does he find a Fire Crystal? Or did I Marnie them all to the bottom of the deck? Or reset some of them to the bottom of the deck? Maybe they're even prized. So he's going to Crobat for 2 still. And all he needs is 2 Fire Crystal to take this knockout. He could also have 2 energy, Fire Crystal, and potential Pokemon catchers. That is also a thing that could happen. So there's 1 Fire Crystal. Does he have 2? Does he have 2? He's taking... Ah, yes! And he didn't have it. Unlucky. Unlucky. And yeah, that's very well played. I think my opponent was blatantly trying to bait me into just conceding sort of thing. If you look like you're in a bad position, doesn't always mean your opponent's going to win. So never be that person to just concede just because you think your opponent's going to win. And we unfortunately don't get to cut this video because we're going straight into the next one due to how much of a slow player my opponent was just then. Stress. So we won the coin flip, finally, and of course, regardless of whatever deck we're against, but specifically fire, I most certainly do not want to be going first. And we have a godly hand, if I'm perfectly honest. Unless these Centre Scorch decks suddenly start playing Mawile, that would be fun. But even the Mawile wouldn't particularly do much for us because either way we have the attachment Marnie. You'd need Mawile and Fion, but even then we've got the switch. So this is why I say from all angles this is looking really, really good. And we are also going to Marnie my opponent as well, so that top deck, I'm not sure about that top deck. We'll attach here and we'll Crobat and we'll see what we find. So we do go just double energy. We even find the Chaotic Swell. This is about as good as it gets realistically. Like, it just is. So we need Pikarom in the bin. We realistically do need this Raichu alone Raichu in the bin as well. But I think I'm gonna put Raichu into play and just Marnie. Don't want to be using any of my Dedennes unless I have to. So with any luck we may have the first hit on the opposing Centre Scorch as well. And it doesn't seem like we've prized any energy either. That being said, I made the foolish mistake of not grabbing Pikarom instead of this, when I really should have. So are we just going to see a Radiating Heat? Doesn't seem good by any stretch of the imagination. So we see the discard of the Mallow, that's good. Everyone's playing Mallow, so someone is copying someone's deck list, and I don't know whose. Now, all I'll say about that is that if you're choosing to copy a deck that you're not particularly familiar with, and then you're net decking someone else's rather than build your own and playing with it, then you're not always going to have a good time. So my opponent's got no fire to charge up with this, and he doesn't. I really don't see the point of that. So now we're going to have two Mewtwo in play, and that in itself is good, but could also be bad. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dance the Ancients onto this and this. My opponent's hand could be wholly awful, but I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. So we'll switch into this Boltund. We're going to have to make a dig. It's very unfortunate that we're losing two bosses, but Go here, get rid of one of the energy, that's good. I suppose you can always charge it back up, but it just means that he's going to do less damage to my Boltund in the long run. And I think, yeah, we'll use the speed energy attachment here. And we have another boss to potentially lose. So 190 is a brilliant number to hit for, because now, next turn, we get to switch into Mewtwo and use the full blitz from the Pikarom to hit for 150. So unless my opponent has a Big Charm and a Heat Energy here, he would certainly need both. And we do just see another Dugane. So my opponent's board state is just piled up with like nonsense, realistically. And to take this knockout, he's going to have to welder onto the active and attach to the active to get a knockout for 2 prices, only for my Mewtwo in return to take the knockout. And that's assuming he even gets welder here, because thankfully I managed to get the Chaotic Swell in play. So, awful things all around for my opponent, it would seem. And I'm going to attach here. I kept that energy there just because we do have access to a tag switch in my build. And we do get the full 3 energy here. Now, if my math was any good, oh, we also have the energy switch. Actually, we have, because of that energy switch, unless my opponent reset stamps me here, I have game next turn, because I can energy switch onto this, attach energy, and boss's orders, and I've got the blue in the hand as well. So my opponent absolutely needs to reset stamp here. He plays Freeze Dene, so he can find it. But either way, whatever happens, he's certainly not taking a knockout on this Mewtwo. So it would appear some very rough draws for my opponent. And there is, coming up for you guys, 2 more codes, so I'll display them at the same time. This one is a promo card from the Rebel Clash blister packs, so sorry, I hope it focuses properly. It doesn't always, my camera's not great. There we go. So there's a promo code, some lovely cards, and we will have one more here in the form of just a Vivid Voltage code. I say just, it is the most recent set that's out at the moment, so that is good. And that is a win for Pikarom. So I'll be right back again with the deck list. So, just goes to show that even consistency does not overrule disruption in some instances. Having things like Crush and Hammer and a Team Yelgrunt that I decided to put back in the deck and decrease the Boltund count back to 2 has proven effective in the win that I just acquired in another Players Cup video. So, if you enjoyed this content, please drop a like and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. Thank you again to all the people on Facebook today that helped me acquire my over 100 subscribers. It is my very first milestone as a content creator, and I hope to reach all the rest of the milestones with you guys. And just before I go, I will leave you all with one more code. Again, for camera purposes. So, yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and that's all for me. Peace, guys.